Greetings and welcome to the University of Minnesota Alumni Association's webinar series. My name is Jon Ruzek and I'm the Senior Director of Alumni Networks here at the University of Minnesota, and thanks to all the alumni and friends who have made time to join us live today. Well, you're stuck with me today. I'm your presenter. We're going to be talking about LinkedIn because one of our most popular webinars last year was about LinkedIn and Twitter, so we're going to do a deeper dive today about all things LinkedIn. And it is the world's largest professional network with over 300 million users. And I'm going to give you some of my favorite takeaways off the top, and then we'll dedicate the rest of the hour to your questions. So looking forward to it. Today's webinar is part of a free series being offered by the University of Minnesota Alumni Association, where we're having conversations with experts about career, life, and learning topics. We'll be running monthly webinars from now until May, and of course webinars beyond that too. The webinar is being recorded and will be viewable afterwards at minnesotaalumni.org/alumni webinar series. Just give us a few business days to post it on our website. And if you're on Twitter right now, you can tweet at us with the hashtag UMNWebinar. We'd love to hear from you there. I've also listed Twitter handles for the Alumni Association and myself if you're interested in connecting via Twitter. And if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, I ask that you hold on that for one moment because sending LinkedIn invitations is going to be one of the things I'm going to touch on. We have some additional webinars coming up between now and the end of the year. The next two will be on November 19th, Overcoming the Imposter Syndrome, and December 3rd, a webinar that's actually being presented by our partners at College of Continuing Education, entitled Become a Persuasive Business Storyteller. And you can also sign up for those at our webinar series website. And then also, since you all are joining us online, there's going to be another great online opportunity for alumni. This event's just for alumni only. Thursday, November 5th at 12 noon Central, we're going to have our first virtual networking hour, which is online speed networking for alumni. We think this is going to be a great opportunity for alumni across various industries to exchange career tips and build new connections. And so think speed networking only online, because during this hour, you'll enter industry-specific areas and be paired with fellow alumni to exchange career knowledge and advice in a series of brief 9-minute text-based chats. So at the end of that hour, hopefully you'll have made 5 or 6 new connections across disciplines here at the University of Minnesota. So I've put a vanity URL there at the bottom, and you can check that out. Details are also on our website. Before we get started, here's just a few housekeeping items on the tech side of today's webinar. You have joined the presentation listening using your computer speaker system by default. If you would prefer to listen over the telephone, just select telephone and the audio pane of your GoToWebinar panel, and dial-in information will be displayed. If you experience audio difficulties while listening via your computer speakers, this can be caused by having multiple software applications open, which can use up your computer's bandwidth and affect network performance. So please feel free to close any unnecessary applications on your computer. Also, we found that if people are listening via wireless, sometimes the audio signal via wireless is not as strong as if you're hardwired in to an internet connection. Questions are welcome, and you may submit them at any time. Please type in your questions in the questions pane on your GoToWebinar control panel. I'll be monitoring them along the way, so we do want to hear from you. I will admit I am a solo presenter today. I'm both presenting and also looking at the questions stream, so I likely will not be able to type back questions to you if you pose questions in the question panel, but I will try to address as many over the air here verbally as I can. So let's talk about LinkedIn. In my role as Senior Director of Alumni Networks, I help produce these webinars. Also, I'm working on initiatives like the virtual networking, and I've also talked a lot with both people inside and outside the university about leveraging LinkedIn. And so that's really my perspective today. I'm really approaching it from a user standpoint. I've been on LinkedIn since 2006. I use it every day in my work, and I think it can be very effective for everyone as well. I'm not coming at it from a recruiter standpoint. I'm not a LinkedIn coach for hire. I'm just really coming at it from a user's standpoint, and hopefully can share some of my tips and tricks that I've heard along the way, and also maybe talk with you guys about what you're seeing as well. But before we get started, we're going to do a quick poll because I'm interested in learning about what you're most interested in learning about LinkedIn. Is it improving your individual LinkedIn profile? Is it about utilizing LinkedIn groups? Is it about finding others and growing your network? Is it about LinkedIn for the job search? Or maybe leveraging your privacy settings to tailor it exactly how you'd like to see? So responses are coming in. I'll give a few more seconds for people to respond. All right, I think about 3/4 of you have responded, so let's see here. And we'll share it. And the results are, all right. Well, it looks like it's pretty even between tips on improving your LinkedIn profile and also LinkedIn for the job search, followed by finding others for the job search as well. And that's really helpful because that helps me today to know what you guys are thinking of. And apologies for the lag here. I'm just closing down the poll, and we'll get right back into it. All right, LinkedIn really is your virtual network. What you're seeing here are photos of my, at least the one on the left is of my desk actually, and I still do have a physical Rolodex, and I still actually love to get business cards from people in person as well. And on the right there is a stack of what's supposed to be resumes. And you know, and these things are still important, but the one thing I think where LinkedIn has become really a game changer is that it's taken these the information that you would see on a business card or a resume, and now it lives online, and the people that behind those profiles can update them, so those changes are instantaneous. Where a business card or a resume, really, it's a moment in time. So I might get a business card from somebody 5 years ago. It isn't going to update itself. On LinkedIn, if the person is taking care of their profile, that's where your virtual Rolodex is being updated day by day. And that's how I've really approached a lot of my LinkedIn usage. And a lot of people will say, well, why should you use LinkedIn or other forms of social media? And you know, what I would say is that LinkedIn is definitely not, you know, a lot of people may view it negatively as a superficial professional type of virtual connection, and there's maybe not a reason for them to get engaged. But I would challenge those folks to say that LinkedIn, no matter what industry or profession that you're in, that you can use it to keep in touch with your networks. You can use it to expand professional connections beyond people you might bump into on the street. I do think it complements face-to-face interactions that you have with people in your network as well. So it can inform those times you get together with folks, or maybe you meet somebody on LinkedIn first, and then that leads to an informational interview or a coffee down the road. You can contribute to your industry conversations, really build up your professional brand. So many recruiters nowadays are looking at candidates' social media accounts. I think there's some estimates, definitely in the high 80s to low 90s, that recruiters are on social media and are paying attention to folks' social media presence. And LinkedIn is, I'd say, one of the best ways to professionally highlight yourselves and your skills. And the one other thing I would say is that a lot of, sometimes people will say from outside of the business sectors, oh, LinkedIn is just for business, or it's just for profit. And that might have been the case when LinkedIn was launched. I think a lot of early adopters of LinkedIn were from the business community. But if you go on there nowadays, I see teachers, I see people in human services, I see people in higher ed. It is both business and nonprofit. Companies, nonprofits are having a presence as far as their company pages, posting jobs. So if you've been ignoring LinkedIn for that reason, I would definitely encourage you to revisit it. Now, for example, we were talking about customizing your LinkedIn invitations. And today I will say, if you want to do find me, Jon, Jon Ruzek, Ruzek. If you do want to find me on LinkedIn, I do ask that you customize the invitation, because I think that's one of the things that people have the biggest frustration about with LinkedIn is as far as they get these random invites, they don't know how to deal with them. Who are these people? And I think the more you either are following up with people you've already met and gently triggering that, hey, we met at this networking event last night. It was great to make your acquaintance. Would love to add you as a connection on LinkedIn. Gives them a framework. Obviously, if you met them last night at a networking event, likely they'd remember you. Or if you're reaching out to someone, I guess, in a more cold call fashion, be detailed about why you're interested in connecting. I always encourage people to go into actual individual profiles versus clicking on a profile. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm jumping over to live LinkedIn right now. And so you're looking at my home page, and what I will show you is, so oftentimes LinkedIn will show you people you may know as far as connecting. And this was one tip that I learned, is that, and I'm pretty sure this is still the case, is sometimes if you just, and this goes for both, I think, the desktop and mobile versions, if you're just clicking on the connect button from here, it will send out a generic invitation to connect. And so that's one way where you defeat yourself, as not being able to customize. On the mobile device, apps for LinkedIn are very useful. It's just you have to be purposeful about customizing that request to connect. And so what I often do, and to not go into anyone's, for the sake of demonstration, I am choosing former WCCO news anchor Don Shelby, somewhat public figure, just for the purposes of demonstration. I'm not going to invite Don Shelby, but just so you know, if I was wanting to send a customized message to Don, I click on that connect button. Either say, maybe if we're in the same industry, the news industry, I'd say colleague, or if we had met or done some type of business together, do business together, put in your customized message and really customize that message. And the other thing, going back, is if you see my cursor here on the screen, this is a snapshot of the LinkedIn mobile device. And this is where if you click up here in the upper right, this will give you the options as far as customizing that invite, where if you're just clicking connect, that's where it isn't, that isn't what you'd see. One question that just came up, somebody said, I see that you're a premium member, and we can talk about that. I really only joined the premium as a free trial this month, because both for the purposes of this webinar, but then also I had hit my search limit that LinkedIn does, and so we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we'll talk a little bit about the differences in premium versus not, because depending on your level, I think oftentimes a very basic version of LinkedIn satisfies most people's needs, unless you're in major job search, or if you're a recruiter. We can talk through some of those things. This is a photo snapshot from a Prezi presentation that a colleague of mine down at the University of Minnesota in Rochester, Minnesota, had put together. Her name's Karna, and she put together a really great Prezi about LinkedIn, and I've actually put a vanity URL there at the bottom of the screen, z.umn.edu/liprezi, and that's another great resource. She's made it public, and so thank her for her contributions to today's webinar as well. The one thing I loved about the graphic that she put together from her presentation was about profile photos. For better or worse, your profile on LinkedIn is 11 times more likely to be viewed if you have a photo. So as you can see, photo don'ts. There are actually people of, unless you're maybe in outdoor hunting magazines or things like that, photos with guns, your wedding photos, prom photos, photos with alcohol, maybe weird, obscure Barbie dolls, as you can see there on the right. What I'd say is keep it simple. Don't overthink it. You don't need to have a LinkedIn profile photo that's shot by a professional photographer or things like that. What I often tell people is find someone with a high resolution phone, get a natural light, get a close-up photo as far as this suggests, as far as making sure that your face takes up at least between 60% of the frame, something where you're really happy with the expression that you have for the photo. I think sometimes photos where it's cropped out and somebody's very far away and it's like from the waist up, that really doesn't help give people a sense, and I guess statistics have shown that the more engaging of a photo that you have, the better it is. And again, maybe you're in a place of work where you're wearing a suit and tie every day. Maybe you're a designer and so it's more of a casual, maybe more artsy profile. I think the best thing to do is look around on LinkedIn, find images of colleagues in your industry, and you'll get a really good sense of what's probably appropriate for your industry. My general suggestion is just keep it simple, very simple. I'm also going to plug LinkedIn groups. They are a great way to get involved. Our Alumni Association group that you can see here, University of Minnesota Alumni Association, is open to alumni and students of the University of Minnesota. So I strongly encourage you to join this group. Over 30,000 members, and also as part of that group, you can search against members as far as different keywords to find other people maybe in your industries or backgrounds that you'd like to learn more about. And I'm going to go to the page that I was referring to. So off of minnesotaalumni.org/LinkedIn, I've put together a list of a lot of our all alumni groups that we manage, especially our University of Minnesota Alumni Association group, 30,000 people strong. We have rebranded one of our former subgroups to be an online mentoring network, where the people in that group have said that they'd be willing to connect with each other about career advice and ideas. And then also, I strongly encourage, no matter what collegiate unit you're from, connect in with your collegiate unit as well. All the colleges here at the University of Minnesota, most of them do have LinkedIn groups, and they are another great way to connect specifically with your college as well. And so I strongly encourage people to utilize that resource as well. Oh, here's another one, linkedin.com/alumni. This is a public portal. If you're logged in through LinkedIn, this is a public portal. This is all self-reported information that people are posting on LinkedIn. And here's the live version of that. But this is a wonderful, wonderful, often overlooked tool for both students and alumni to find people in their area, people by company, people who graduated with their major, And this is all people who are listing University of Minnesota Twin Cities for their university. And so if you wanted to search by other universities, or here at the U of M, the Carlson School also has a separate university page like this that can also be looked at. I believe Humphrey Law and Public Health also have university pages too. So this is wonderful. So what I like to, you can spend all day on this. So, and just really for purposes of demonstration, I'll just do something really quick. I'll say, show me just people who are in greater Minneapolis, St. Paul, who work for United Health Group. And then as you can see, the number here is starting to dwindle down. And then remember on this, there's also a completely other three other categories to pick from as far as what they studied, at least is what they're reporting on their LinkedIn profile, what they're skilled at as far as the skills they list. So I'm just going to pick marketing. So I'm searching Greater Minneapolis-St. Paul United Health Group marketing. And this is just a really great way to just get a pulse as far as people who self-report this on LinkedIn who are part of the University of Minnesota Twin Cities community. And again, you can slice and dice to your heart's desire as far as looking at that. Or if you're wanting to say like, hey, just show me second connections. So then, so let's say just for purposes of demonstration, I want to connect with Kevin. I can see that, okay, I see Angie, who's one of my contacts, knows Kevin. Maybe I can reach out to her to get a warm introduction to Kevin. And that's just one thing that you can play around with. You can also, if there's certain keywords, you can search within that set. There's really a lot of ways you can do it, and you can choose by year, and then you can clear it all out and start all over again. But it's really, I'd say, as I talk with alumni and friends, this is one of the most overlooked portals on LinkedIn, but it can really help somebody when they have those more career path type questions. And all right. And then lastly, I'm just going to go through this quick because I want to get to your questions. The one thing I would also say is here when you're on your in your accounts and settings up here, and I'm not going to log into my own privacy and settings, but I do have some screenshots, but you'd go to privacy and settings and you go to manage. And I just want to touch on this because a lot of times people's gripes with LinkedIn often are due to the fact of the way they're managing their privacy settings. So especially here, as you can see this screenshot of your profile, you can turn on and off your updates maybe when you're overhauling your LinkedIn profile. So if you're making a lot of wholesale changes to your profile or following companies, maybe because of a job search, turn off those activity broadcasts because then other people in your network won't see it. The key is after you're done doing that and you want to be public again, turn back on that activity broadcast. You can turn on and off when people view your profile. Sometimes people are concerned about they don't want others to see who they're connected with on LinkedIn because that can be a way, like within their profile, to you can see who they're connected with and maybe search against that. That's really a personal preference. Actually, for me, since I'm pretty expansive as far as LinkedIn invites, I have hid my connections on my at least profile page, and that's just my personal opinion. Others could leave it open. It's really up to you. And then also the other key thing, if you're wanting to have others write written recommendations for you that show up on your LinkedIn profile, this is where you would manage those recommendations. LinkedIn used to be very, I'd say, more user-friendly about highlighting that option. And at least for me, this is like the only way I've found to come back to those recommendations. I'm assuming they're still going to keep it around. They just don't highlight it as much, but it can be a way to really pop out your what people think of you. And then also one of the other privacy options is your public profile on LinkedIn. So maybe when somebody who's Google searching you, what do they see when that Google search shows up in LinkedIn? And so as you can see here, you can really modify the types of the sections of your LinkedIn profile that you want shown up. And I would really encourage people to make their public profile visible, because that's what's going to make it searchable. There have been cases where people have reached out to me because they're wanting to network and wanting to connect, and I know they're on LinkedIn. I want to share their profile, but they have defaulted their setting to make my public profile visible to no one. So literally, I'm not able to kind of really share their profile very well. So that's another thing I would say for people to tweak. Communications preferences, you can set the frequency of emails you want to get, the frequency of group invitations to. You can just set it up all from there. So I'm going to stop my presentation right now, and I'm moving over to your question stream. We got quite a few, and so just give me a sec, and I'm going to start looking at some of these questions. Okay, so we have one from Alumni who's saying, if you are changing careers, how do you set up LinkedIn to see new jobs in a totally new area? For example, going from corporate into nonprofit. Well, I would say definitely under the jobs tab here, and I'll admit I'm not in the job search process right now, but if I was, I would be utilizing this section of LinkedIn. And so you can really start training it as far as the types of jobs either that you're looking for, or the how should I say, the types of jobs you're following. I think the more you can train it as far as entering. So I'm just going to use higher ed as an example. So I want to look in the greater Minneapolis-St. Paul area. I'm going to go to industry because I'm, and I don't think it's going to give me higher ed per se, but I'll just select organizations and nonprofits. I'm going to select finish and save the preferences. You can go back and look, and then it's going to start really tailoring those results to you. And what I would say is I think groups are another great way for job changers to start dipping their toes and hearing the industry discussions within certain groups, following companies on LinkedIn. So I'm just going to do Greater Twin Cities United Way. And so there's a few groups, but the company page is really like the formal LinkedIn page that those respective companies manage. So Greater Twin Cities United Way, I'm actually already following this group, but you could start following it. Sometimes if the employer has built it out, they'll maybe have a job tabs or current careers. Following recruiters from those areas can be valuable as well. So those are some things I would recommend from a standpoint as far as career changers. All right, Juan in Austin, Texas, hello, thanks for tuning in. Would really like to try to set up a get-together here for fellow Gophers. Is there any way I can find out Gophers here in Austin? And literally I would refer back to that linkedin.com/alumni. And just for my own curiosity, I am going to select Austin, Texas. Bingo. All right. So it says 835 records currently show up of Gophers in the Austin, Texas area. And actually, there's some folks that I've already connected with already. And again, this is just, it's a nice way to connect up and see others in your area as well, especially if you're from afar. Yeah, okay, so one of our questions earlier was blocking specific people in your network from seeing all of your connections without, trying to block specific people in your network from seeing all of your connections without blocking it from your contacts. That I'm not sure of, if you can slice it. I know you can block accounts on LinkedIn, so if in the rare circumstance someone was being weird or harassing, you can block those people. And you can block people from seeing your connections. I just don't know if you can really slice and dice as far as choosing what you're blocking. Slide, can we get the slides sent to us? There will be a recording of this afterwards, and especially my email is Ruzek, RUZEK 010 at umn.edu. I'd be happy to share some of the links if they don't make sense after looking at the recording. So that's what I'd say, because a lot of this is just going to be going off of the website probably from here on out. All right, Elizabeth says, talk about how important it is for job seekers to take part in appropriate LinkedIn groups to really help their brand. Yes, I think groups are a great way. I will go and kind of show you some of my groups. I'm a member of quite a few groups, so here, in a sense, like the groups tab on LinkedIn is a nice little digest for some things that are really interesting. I subscribe by email to a lot of different groups as far as the digest, so I see it in my email. People can block it. People can choose to have those sent weekly or daily or not at all. It's really your call. So and a lot of my groups are U of M specific since I work here, but it is a great way. And I'd especially say, especially with a lot of national colleagues in my Alumni Career Services Network group, it's been a great way to trade best practices and share stories and successes with others in my industry. And you know, this exists in business, this exists in nonprofit. Probably if you have a subspecialty in your field, there's likely a LinkedIn group. And what I would say is join a LinkedIn group, you know, take the temperature of it. If you find the conversations are really lame and boring, then unjoin it. You know, there's nothing about having to stick in a LinkedIn group. Some are moderated better than others, others aren't. There's been some changes with LinkedIn groups as far as some groups are more what they call open or standard, where kind of everyone and their mother's uncle can join. And that can be good in some aspects. It can be really bad as far as a lot of crap discussions, I guess I would say. Some groups that maybe are a little bit more moderated can be a little bit better. That's just my personal opinion. It's really a user's preference. But groups are definitely a wonderful way to stay engaged. All right, Sherry asks, where does the resume stop and LinkedIn begin? How should the two pieces be the same and how should they be different? Well, what I would say, Sherry, is that while your LinkedIn profile will probably contain much of the same aspects of your resume, what I would say is you don't want it just to be a boilerplate version of your resume, because and I don't know if this feature still exists on LinkedIn, but there used to be a way where you could upload your resume and it would start building out your profile. And at least from my experience with that and seeing it on other people's profiles, it's kind of, it's a little clunky. And if you do that, you really need to pay attention to taking time to prune that resume then that it uploaded and really make it fit within LinkedIn, because there's a lot of ways you can take that information on LinkedIn and beef it up some more. So what I would say, let's spend a little bit time on just profile. So I'm going to view my profile as how you might see it coming to my page. There's lots of different ways that you can beef out your LinkedIn profile to make it really live and breathe beyond your resume. If you're into writing, so like maybe doing a short blog post about something in your industry, the LinkedIn publishing platform is a great way to highlight that. On occasion, I'll try to post some career-related things, and so here are some of my blog posts that I've put up along the way, and it's a great way for me to feature maybe some of the thoughts that I have in my sector. Whether it's your headline here or the summary tab here, a lot of recruiters talk about, and people who are into search engine optimization talk about the importance of having keywords in these sections, as far as when somebody is searching for certain keywords in your industry, that the more that those show up in your headline, in your summary, that can really help distinguish you. I know there's a lot of people who say don't put just your title in the headline portion of it. Just for simplicity's sake, that's how I've chosen to do it. I think there is leverage as far as if you can be more descriptive about what you do or what you're looking to do or the areas that you're looking to move into. This headline can be really helpful. I guess I'm kind of a curmudgeon. I think sometimes people get too cute with their headlines. That'd just be my only word to the wise, is there's a fine line between being too cute and not. Within your entire profile, you can incorporate links to either video or downloads that you've done. So let's say you have a great white paper, or you have a presentation that you did. Those are living, breathing things that you can incorporate into your LinkedIn profile, something that would really just be a hyperlink on your resume. So you can really punch it up, really beef up your experience. As you can see, the recommendations that you might be asking for, you can weave those into your current job so it flows nicely. You can have little descriptors. So again, a paper resume, much of this would probably appear on my paper resume, but some of these other things are just things that can help distinguish you in whatever profession that you're doing, can help you distinguish yourself a little bit more. And I'm going to jump back to Don Shelby, because the one thing I also want to show you as you search and connect with people is to pay attention to the relationship star and contact info. So, so on the relationship tab, these are all functions that you can manage yourself and really are only viewable to you. So let's say, so this is where you can really use LinkedIn as a kind of a personal database for yourself. If you want to make a note to yourself about your interaction with the person, if you want to make a reminder to follow up in a month with this person, if you want to make a note like, oh, we met at this networking event. If you want to make a tag as far as categorizing some of your folks, LinkedIn has some pre-existing tabs, and as you can see here, I've added some tabs as far as, in my job, I meet with a lot of alumni, people in career resources, recruiters, people in philanthropy, et cetera, et cetera. It's a way that you can tag and organize without even connecting in with somebody. And again, it's only viewable to yourself. And the one other thing you can, and actually I'm gonna jump to a different person's profile just to show you this. Brendan's profile, a great U of M alum who runs Antenna, a marketing consulting group here in the Twin Cities. Under his contact info, this is where you can also break out a lot of different things. So if they have a Twitter account, you can follow it there. If they have their website, you can follow it there. The one thing I definitely would say, as far as from having looked at many LinkedIn profiles, the stuff that's in the contact info field is often one of the things that people forget to update as they change jobs or their Twitter handle changes, or et cetera, et cetera. So be sure to update those links, because if somebody's looking for ways to get in touch with you, and again, if you want to be found for networking job purposes, be sure to have these links updated, because it's just, it can be really helpful. And then lastly, you can as far as I'm going back to the Don Shelby model, you can share somebody's profile with another person. You can actually do a follow. So if this user has chosen to make all their LinkedIn updates that they do public, you can follow that without being connected. So it's kind of like Twitter in that sense, where you can passively follow. And that's a really great way to do it too. And then just one other thing quick, going to Brendan's example as far as just showing the option of view recent activity. And so again, if somebody's made their public updates public, anybody by clicking the view recent activity can go and see the latest and greatest from Brendan. And this is a really great way to stay on top of mind with people as well. So that is just a really kind of quick overview of some of the profile features. One person asks, how do I trigger my recently updated profile to be seen by outside companies and recruiters while not notifying people within my current company? I'm not sure if you can really slice and dice that way. I think it's pretty much turn off all broadcast activities and then turn on all broadcast activities. So what I would do if you're making wholesale changes, turn off your broadcast activities while you do it, and then update it, or maybe when your activities are off, start following companies that you want to follow, and I think there's a privacy setting where maybe that isn't viewable to other people, but that would be my suggestion. Chelsea writes in, should you be connecting with people you don't personally know? I often get invites from people I don't know, and I'm sure if it's better to accept or reject them. That is, I would say, personal preference. I generally try to have some connection to folks. Admittedly, in my role with alumni relations, I'm probably more expansive than most people. Sometimes you'll get emails from people you don't know, but then if you go back, you realize, and this is one of the mistakes of maybe not customizing invites or uploading your Google Mail or email from your phone into LinkedIn, is that if you're not careful, it might just send out a blast generic, I want to connect with you on LinkedIn invite, and it kind of goes to everybody that you maybe have ever emailed, worst case scenario there. So be careful with some of those email upload functions. What I often do is that, especially there used to be, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there's probably more spam accounts on LinkedIn. I'd say LinkedIn's cleaned that up pretty well, but if something looks really spammy, ignore it. If it's maybe somebody in your industry who maybe you don't know, but like, hey, I think that would be great to connect with them, you could always send them a message back off their invite and just say, hey, thanks for your invite. I don't believe we've had the chance to meet before. Could you tell me a little bit more about your interests in connecting? And that's kind of how I approach it. Jeff had asked a question earlier about premium versus regular. And again, really more for the purpose of this webinar, I started a free trial for a month, and I'm going to cancel it at the end of the month because I really don't need premium. But if you're on the fence about if LinkedIn Premium's right for you, I think they often have offers to do a free month's worth of premium. So you can try it, and and if it's not your bag, cancel it before the month is due. I think otherwise it's about $50 a month. And I'd say probably one of the more refining features of premium is that you have unlimited views as far as who viewed your profile, if you're into that. To be honest, for me, the differences between who's viewed my profile between premium and not premium is really not worth it, in my opinion. But with premium, you can also send unlimited amounts of InMail. So if I literally wanted to send Don Shelby a message right now, because I'm on premium, I could send him a message and it would go to him. Whether he responds to it's a whole other deal. And it gives you, I think for InMail messages, about 15 messages a month. The one workaround with where you don't have to be premium, but if you're part of a group and if other group members are allowing you to message them within the group, that's a way where you can send up to 15 messages a month across all the groups that you belong to. That's a way to do that. So I'll just quickly show you how that's done. So I'm in the Maine Alumni Association group. I want to go to search. I'm going to go to members. And I'm just going to search by the generic term of engineer. Again, you could do name, you could do a keyword, etc. All right, so it's given me over 5,000 results for engineer. And I'm going to go to some people I'm not connected with. Okay, so David. David here at the top. Again, this was within groups, and as long as David allows other group members to message him, which again is a privacy setting that you can do, you could send David a message. And I think it's going to work here, or I think that's an option. If they don't allow a message, it will tell you right away. But that's a way that you can leverage your groups but not have to pay premium as well. And so as it thinks, okay, so there you see the message about how one could theoretically message someone within a group. But again, that is LinkedIn's recent, I think it used to be unlimited. Now LinkedIn has limited that to 15 messages a month within all the number of the groups. So it's not by group, but it is across all of your groups. All right. Trying to get through your questions here, and if I go a little bit past one, I'll try to, maybe take some more questions because I got some time. What do you do when you meet someone in person at a networking event and then LinkedIn won't let you connect with them because they are a third-degree person? Oh yeah, that's a good question. Usually for the most part, even if they're third degree, I try just to select that connect button and link in that way, because I have connected with third-party people that way. But actually, maybe we'll try. I'm just going to do a generic Chris Smith. See if I can come up with a third. We'll do a third connection example and see if I can. So again, Chris Smith, I don't know who he is. Okay, so here he's a third-party connection. We have nobody in common. So what I do is hover over the drop down here, and then it does often will give me an opportunity to hit connect. And then I have my a way to customize the invite. All right. What else? And then one person had wrote, kind of going back to the block connections, in your own company when you're broadcasting a job search. Do you use manage who you're blocking, which is under privacy settings? Yeah, I think that would be an option, like especially if, let's say, your boss is on LinkedIn and might be monitoring. Yeah, maybe for the short-term time, if there's key people that you want to block, that's an option to do that. Obviously, you have to go in by ones and ones and connect. One person writes, I have an interview coming up. Should I connect with people interviewing me prior and send them a message? This is more my personal preference. I'm usually not a huge advocate of sending messages prior to an interview, but I think the one nice thing about LinkedIn is that if you could visit those folks' LinkedIn profiles, learn about them, use that information that's on LinkedIn in your first round interview. I think a lot of people leave a lot of that information on the table when they go into first round interview settings. And then if that person is monitoring who's viewed them on LinkedIn, they can see like, hey, Greg there was looking at my profile, was doing some research before the interview. Whether that makes a difference, I don't know, but at least it shows them that you are engaged. All right, next question. Is there a search function in LinkedIn so I don't lose articles in the newsfeed? I find posts in the LinkedIn newsfeed, but I don't have time to read and I want to go back. Oh boy, that's a great question. I don't know if like under interests, like Pulse, this is an app that you can get on LinkedIn too, but it's also a news feed is, I don't know if there's a way that you can like bookmark them. A lot of things that I do, I use, my friend Vic over in Public Health gave me the tip about Evernote, and I've been using that to save a lot of articles on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, that's admittedly one of my blind spots. I don't know if there's a way to manage that function. Another person writes, after you make connections, how can you make best use of it? What I do, after you make connections, I just think it's a great way to stay in mind with that person, or talking about ways to keep in touch with that person. So even here, very superficially, LinkedIn will give me a lot of updates on my connections. And so I could choose to like or comment on things. It's a way to stay in touch with your networks. And so as you can see, these are the types of things that LinkedIn proposes. Let's see, let's go to my connections. It also will, by being connected, will let me know about past jobs, things like that. And why I connect a lot of my professional contacts into my LinkedIn network is that it will pay dividends down the road. So again, going back to my Don Shelby example, if I did want to get connected with Don Shelby, right at the tip of my fingertips, I have a bunch of people who, at least in my network, are connected to Don on LinkedIn. I do know that there's a good chance some of them might not know him very well, but others may. But at least this is a great shortcut to show me who might be able to make an introduction to the person that I'm looking at. The one thing I also always love to tell people is, especially if you're going into a new field, industry, wanting to connect with others in your profession, pay attention. Again, pay attention to the people also viewed column. This can be a great way to find other people in your field. So again, this is showing a lot of local TV people here in the Twin Cities. So that's a way to look at it. And then even under your add connections, if it will show me here in a sec. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Sorry about that. Oh, the people you may know. People you may know is a great way. Just LinkedIn just kind of puts these up, and the more that you're connecting in with folks, so connecting with higher ed, it will give you suggestions. So especially after you accept a LinkedIn invite from somebody else, it will then show you a bunch of other examples. Take a moment to scroll through. I found a lot of great people in different industries, or people who maybe have fell off my radar that just kind of show up in this function. It's kind of like, if you're on Facebook, the Facebook has also a similar function of people you may know as well. LinkedIn, say someone talks about LinkedIn profile strength, rating of expert. I've listed all my experience, education, and many recommendations. What criteria do I do to get to an all-star status? Good question. LinkedIn kind of always dangles these carrots in front of you about becoming an all-star et cetera, et cetera. I think, kind of like here, as you can see, they're wanting me to maybe add a language if I know a language. And so I'm going to skip through this. I would say some of these other functions, so adding sections to your profile, and these are things, again, going back to the resume question, as far as how can you make this stand out, maybe versus a resume, is that you can see different functions and areas that you can list, whether it's volunteer experience, board experience, honors and awards, if you're a student, maybe more courses that you've taken, causes that you care about, et cetera, et cetera. All right, we got a lot of questions. I know I'm not going to get to them. If I go beyond one, I'll maybe try to take a few more after 1 o'clock. I won't stop hard at 1, but if you need to leave the webinar, it's true. It's okay. All right, we have a question. Can you give recommendations on how to make your LinkedIn summary to be more reflective of your personality and not just a regurgitation of your resume summary or objective? Oh, that's a great question. I would say with the summary, you can definitely make that more personal, and maybe highlight it in a way that's maybe not as academic or technical as a resume. I off the top of my head, I don't have lots of great recommendations for that. The one thing from the newsfeed with LinkedIn, you'll find a lot of LinkedIn career coaches and other people who have a lot of suggestions on those, and actually do have some good stuff. But I think the summary part, definitely you can use that to be maybe a little bit more personal. One person had asked about creating labels to assign to contacts, so that's definitely that tags function that we talked about. Somebody asked if I could provide my email again. Yes, I can. You also can query me off the U of M website. So my name's Jon, Jon Ruzek, and R-U-Z-E-K. And so my email is ruzek010@umn.edu. And while I'm on my profile page, this reminds me of a great tip my friend Elizabeth Craig gave at a workshop the other day, is that remember, if you're submitting a resume to a company, make sure that the name on your resume and the name on your LinkedIn profile match up. It's just an easier way for people to find you. Also, within your own, when you create a LinkedIn account, LinkedIn will create kind of this long, ugly URL that's, got a bunch of letters and numbers. Take a moment to customize your LinkedIn URL. So as I share my LinkedIn profile with folks, it's a great way to make it clean, make it memorable. If you have a name, like Elizabeth's example is like, there's a lot of other Elizabeth Craigs on LinkedIn. Well, she made her vanity URL Elizabeth Craig 1. So that's a way to look at it too. All right, one other person asks, at what level of knowing someone is it appropriate to send them a LinkedIn invitation? I'm thinking of someone who was a panelist at a career panel that I attended, and we chatted briefly afterwards for 10 minutes. Is it appropriate to send that person an invitation, or could that be viewed negatively? I'm always a glass half full person, and so especially if you talked with them for about 10 minutes, I would send them the invite, remind them how you connected. Say that you appreciated their time and the advice that they shared during the panel. What a great way to keep them connected, to get them into your network. And, they might ignore your invite. And if that's the case, move on. Much like anything in life, people can ignore Facebook invites, LinkedIn invites. They can ignore your email. Just remember, especially when it comes to networking and building your networks, it's a big C. Some people, for a variety of reasons, might not want to connect. But I think as long as you're being respectful, if you're being informed, especially if you've had that prior connection, or maybe there's a mutual connection in common, like, hey, Elisa said that you'd be a great person to connect with. I'd appreciate connecting in with you on LinkedIn because Lisa said that you would be a great person to connect with. Having those touch points versus just like, I just want to add you my network on LinkedIn and I have no, obviously have no idea who you are, those uncustomized messages I think are more easy to delete. In the contact info tab, which would you suggest having? Work email ID or personal ID? Does it make a big difference? I don't think it makes a big difference. I'd say whatever one you're more comfortable with. I have my work one just because most of this is, as far as how I interact on LinkedIn, is because of my work. So I'd say it doesn't really matter. I think some people have said, like, if you have a AOL account, you might want to update it to something more fresh because, like me, I'm a dinosaur. It might show my age. So I think that's the only thing I've kind of heard about LinkedIn. Oh, great tip from my friend Tara. She says, I love following channels on LinkedIn. And so that's under the Pulse section, under interests, and go to Pulse. And so you can follow different feeds. So especially down here, I think at the bottom, there's a lot of pay attention to tags. Sorry, this one's a longer one. So as you can see, LinkedIn creates some, actually the authors create some tags, and there's also the featured in section. So if you want to think about careers next level, LinkedIn's already categorizing a lot of different articles within that function. And then bingo, this is what Tara was talking about. Follow this channel. And you know what? I did not really ever drill down into that level, so I learned something today as well. So thank you so much. Another person writes for, especially when sending the request, you can select a person as a friend and it may also let you connect. That's true. Sometimes it used to let you do it with an email. A lot of times now with certain accounts, with the friend aspect, it makes you type in an email address. So I generally use colleague or we've done business together. All right, LinkedIn group question. I manage a group with many subgroups. LinkedIn has now gotten rid of subgroups, making them all individual groups. Is there a way to post in multiple groups at one time? Not that I'm aware of. I would love that option, actually, Susan, if that existed, because, yeah, some of the changes that they've made with the LinkedIn groups, at least for administrators, have made things a little bit more woolly-bully, but we'll see how it goes. All right. One other question from David. Hi, David. As far as connecting with others, would simply being a University of Minnesota alumni be appropriate to connect? And same goes for collegiate affiliation. Yeah, so I'm going to use David's example of that. If he's reaching out to maybe another person who's also a graduate of the College of Science and Engineering, just be very overt about that. Hey, my name's David. I haven't had the pleasure to meet you before, but we are both graduates of the College of Science and Engineering at the University of Minnesota, and would love to connect and stay connected because of that affinity. I don't see anything wrong with that, but again, I'm in alumni relations, and so I'm all about alumni and students connecting with each other because that's really how we're going to build our networks. LinkedIn isn't the be-all end-all, but it can be really, really helpful as far as making those connections with folks. So don't discount it. I'd say definitely marry virtual with in-person engagement. So you can use LinkedIn to really enhance those personal interactions that you have. And we are at time, so wow, what a great conversation today. I've learned some things. I loved hearing your comments. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, customize that message, join our LinkedIn groups. Let's continue the conversation online, and And as you're on Twitter, we have a great Twitter account for our Alumni Association. Also remember that MinnesotaAlumni.org LinkedIn group, it has pages of our all alumni groups, of our collegiate specific groups. Really get in and join those groups. There's some great people at the colleges who work with me and the entire Alumni Association office who manage those too. So utilize those as well. And just lastly, thank you so much for the members of the University of Minnesota Alumni Association who make new initiatives like this webinar series possible. Thank you so much. Because of members, we do enrich the lives of alumni, support student success, and make a better University of Minnesota. So become a member today at minnesotaalumni.org/join. That's all today. We covered a lot on LinkedIn. I really thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day, and wish all of our alumni and friends in our worldwide community of the University of Minnesota alumni a great day. Take care.